In the last lesson, you may have noticed that I kind of sped through the use of this server.use function without going into very much detail about what it actually means or what it actually does. So let me elaborate a little bit more on that in this lesson. I've included a link to a great external resource, which is a cheat sheet explaining a lot of the different features and functionality of Restify. So if you actually visit that link, you'll land on a page which looks like this. It's a GitHub page, this Restify server cheat sheet.js. It's just a JS file. And you'll notice that some of the code should look familiar. Require Restify, listening on a certain port. So this cheat sheet is fantastic. You can use it after you're done with the course or while you're going through the course. It's great for copying and pasting various things into your code as well. So if you scroll down a bit, you'll notice this section called Bundled Plugins, which has a bunch of lines labeled server.use. So just to explain what the body parser is doing, you can read the technical explanation, which is it blocks your chain on reading and parsing the HTTP body. It switches on content type and does the appropriate logic, application JSON, application form URL encoded, and multi-part form data are currently supported. So the actual layman's terms of what that's saying is you'll notice that when we were issuing our Postman request to create a user, we included this body component, which contained data that is form URL encoded with a first name, last name, and email address. If we actually click here in Postman to generate the code, this is what's happening under the hood. We're issuing a request to post user with host localhost 8080, and we have the content type being URL encoded data basically. So this is what's actually being passed from the client to our server. It's URL encoded data for those who are familiar with typical RESTful APIs. First name equals Jim, last name equals test, and email address equals jim@test.com with the @ symbol being URL encoded. Now, in order for our API to actually know how to handle this type of data, when we actually had the rec object, you see this var user equals rec.params. How did it know to put each of those individual parameters into this rec.params array? And that's because of this body parser that comes with Restify. It handles that all for you so that you don't have to parse the URL and extract the individual parameters yourself. That all happens behind the scenes, and you just get access to this rec.params item. And similarly, it mentioned in the page that we had read over here that it can also handle JSON data. So in the case where our API needs to receive JSON data instead of this URL encoded data, it will just happen behind the scenes as well, where rec.params will contain the various items as an array that come in from the requests, the parameters. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense. And I just wanted to show you that cheat sheet that's really fantastic for just referencing and copying and pasting and whatnot. So that's it for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next lesson.